And most of us probably are not really truly even counting our blessings every day because we are so well blessed. But what about spiritual? What about spiritual? Those who come to me shall never hunger or thirst. I want to share with you a little more about my journey and how I've got to where I am. And at some point in time, and who knows, maybe you're sitting here today. Matter of fact, I know a couple of you are sitting here and ready to launch off into a new mission, into a new adventure, and so forth. And I know somewhat how you feel. You know, leaving, going off into another land, off into another place, and having that trust in the God, and being able to say, my hope is in the Lord, that I fully trust. And I know He says, those who come to me, those who come to me. I recall that. I recall that very well, coming to God and saying, you know, physically I've got everything I need. My family's great. We've got a nice warm place to live in and grind, plenty of foods and so forth. And I'm teaching Sunday school, and I'm doing absolutely everything I can around the church, but I'm not fulfilled. I'm not fulfilled. There's something more. There's something more there for me. And maybe you're at that point. If you are, I want to encourage you to explore that. And begin to ask, begin to ask God, what is it you're calling me to do? What is it that you're needing me or wanting me to do? And in that exploration, start to talk to some other people. I'm sure Pastor Mark would be more than glad to talk with you. I'm certainly more than glad to talk with you and to listen to you. And if you think God is calling you into something, our hope is really, truly in the Lord. And how do we get to that point where God wants us to be? How do we come to that understanding that God is willing to feed us spiritually? See, those who were there with Jesus was saying, Moses fed us for 40 years. What sign are you giving? What sign are you giving? And they didn't understand. They didn't understand at all what Jesus was trying to accomplish, what He was trying to do. And all they could think about was their own physical needs, their own physical self, and not tending to their spiritual. What happens? What happens to us when we don't tend to our spiritual needs? When we don't find our way and our place, and what is it that you're really, truly needing or wanting? What is it? Do you have a way of taking care of that? There's so many now. Electronic as well as printed, daily devotions to help you and to guide you and to encourage you. The possibility of finding a group, and if we don't have that, maybe creating some group that we could come into and become a part of, and all to where we could share our thoughts and our needs, where we could talk about the possibility, where we could open the scriptures and we could look at this as to what John is trying to get us to see, that Jesus is saying, I am the bread of life. Our hope really, truly is in the Lord. That God is with us. God is with us spiritually each and every day and always in all places. Wherever it is that you live and work, wherever it is that you play, those that you're around, God gives us multiple opportunities to be able to express and to share and to make a difference. You know, that opportunity that we have sometimes when you can recognize somebody might be having a bad day and you're able to say with them, it's okay. It's okay. This is just one day, one moment, so forth, and we're going to get to God with. And maybe even ask them their name if you don't already know. and then promise them. But let me share with you, if you promise somebody that you're going to pray for them, by all means, do it. By all means, do it. People tell me all the time, you know, I can't. And prayer works. Prayer really and truly works. When you tell someone that you're going to pray for them about a certain thing, pray for them. Because the next time you see them, the next time you're around them, you're going to be able to say to them, how is whatever it is. You'll be able to remember because it's important. People want to know. People want to know that you care. People want to know that you care about them. And when we share that, all of a sudden, our journey, we begin to see who it is that we really are. When we put our hope in the Lord and we begin to say, you know, God, what is it? How is it that you can use me? How can I make a difference in this world where I live each and every day? How is it that I can go forth? I can tell you story after story after story of where God has been able to bring some of the most unlikely looking characters into my life that has taught me more and more about God and about how God works. And quite often that some of the knowledge and these things that people pick up when they are journeying through life, that in certain situations they can share and they can tell you to help you to come to understand what it is that Jesus is really, truly saying. Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Jesus says when you come to me and you shall never hunger or thirst again. I am the bread. I am the bread of life. He goes on a little further, and some of them who are listening, who are still thinking physically, you know, they really start getting, you know, and he says, eat my flesh. And they're starting to think, you know, well, I'm not accountable. You know, it's, you know, and it's still hung in this physical. I think one of the hardest things that we do, and it might actually be, you've heard this about the fall of mankind, but I think maybe one of the hardest things that we actually have to do is to understand the spiritual realm, to begin to think spiritually rather than physically. Obviously, we live in a spiritual place, and we're, a physical place, and we're physical beings and all, but at the same time, we also have a spiritual nature. And what Jesus is talking about here is totally spiritual. It has nothing to do with the physical.